Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Alessio Artuffo. I'm the CRO at Docebo. Today we'll talk about informal learning, social learning, unstructured learning, everything that is learning that is not formal and boring. Before starting and talking to you a little bit about the main session, I wanted to share something about me. I thought I'd share my social profile. We all have one. You have one as well. Sometimes you don't know you have it, but I may ask you questions and you may come up with your social profile. This accent is from, who guesses the flag? Thank you. I am very fortunate and happy living in Canada currently. However, Atlanta has been my home for a few years. I moved from Italy to Atlanta in 2009. Was very fortunate to start the operations of Docebo in 2012, 2013 in Athens, Georgia. Great town. For those of you that are from the area, you certainly know how gorgeous Athens is. In life, I am very passionate about software as a service. I love the educational technology. I've been in this field for more than 10 years, and I'm a foodie. In my social life, I have different behaviors, and I do different things based on the different channels that I contribute and or participate in. So on Twitter, I click and retweet. On Snapchat, my niece says I'm too old for it. And in other channels, I contribute differently. Well, it all is going to come together as we move through the presentation in understanding why I think that's important to talk about contribution levels and sharing. But just a quick retrospective on why I'm here, who I represent, Docebo. For those of you who don't know us yet, actually, I'll get a hand raise. How many have heard of Docebo before getting in this conference room today? A little bit more than 50%. That's great. I did the same question 3 years ago, and everybody was like, I don't know who you are, which is good. Docebo, in 2017, is a fast, rapidly growing company. We have a flagship product. It's a learning management system. But today, I'm not going to talk about Docebo. Don't worry, no sales pitch today, I promise. We're going to talk about something else. But I want to give you context, let you know that we are based in 4 different offices. Our homes are in Athens, Georgia, like I said, in Toronto, Canada, Milan, and in Dubai. We're about 150 people globally. That's our stars. And we've been growing fast, 100% year over year for the past 4 years. Our clients are in more than 80 countries. And we are social enabled since 2016. What are we going to talk about today? For those of you that are LMS users and or administrators and or have implemented an LMS, the question comes up frequently. Are people happy with their LMS? We're going to talk about the learner experience as it relates to the modern learner. And finally, how the right technology can help organizations to become smarter at what they do. But first off, before we dive deep in numbers and statistics and all of that, let's start with a quick definition of learner experience. So we are all more or less familiar with the terminology of user experience. User experience as it refers to somebody's emotions and attitudes in using a certain product, typically digital. But when you refer to learner experience, you can see the user experience as a subset of that. So the learner experience is everything that surrounds somebody's perception of how their learning is happening within a certain learning ecosystem. Why is that important? Well, Brandon Hall, a fairly well-known analyst in the market, asked about what is the average satisfaction rate in our industry to a number of executives. This data goes back to 2016, I believe, in a survey that was deployed to about 300 executives, mostly North America, 70% of respondents, but essentially will tell us what? That 44% of the companies are currently actively pursuing replacing their current LMS. And that 34% of the companies or people interviewed are actively exploring not only changing their LMS, but adopting brand new technologies, things that they have never used before to enhance their learning capabilities. What's interesting among all the data is that on the 44% side, people changing their LMS or wanting to change their LMS, this number keeps on increasing year over year. It feels like there's something missing. So when we drill down the data and we look at why that's happening, quite interestingly, or sadly, we can determine that among the main factors, mobile capabilities, integration of the LMS with third-party systems, reporting abilities, the ability to give to administrators better system, easier to manage, more automated. The most overwhelming data point is that systems today have a scarce user experience. So here's the attribution factor. Overwhelmingly, 88% of people feel, 88% among those that are looking for a new system feel that the main reason for their change is that the learner itself is unhappy and that the learning technology is creating a friction in the learning experience. So quite counterintuitively, I can't say that today, the learner experience is the weakest link in the learning chain. It is creating friction. And learners are asking for something different to their learner organizations. So how many of you today have an LMS and are fully satisfied by it? Wow, that's interesting. So how many of you have an LMS and are somehow unsatisfied by it? There's a great percentage of unsatisfaction in the room. So it's not news. It's not like I've been in this industry, like I said, for 10 plus years, and it's not news that people aren't happy with their learning management system. But why is it now hurting organizations more than it used to in the past? It feels like it was more tolerable before, but it's less now. And data shows that the drop in usage, the drop in engagement is much more significant today compared to the past. Well, I've asked myself why. I've read a lot of research. In compacting and zipping and condensing everything, I'd say digital and entertainment consumption has changed, has evolved. Super Mario went from being this in 1985 to this completely social, engaging, interactive, action-driven. Who knows what the culture of binge watching is? Quite a few, almost all of you. This is the product of a different type of consumption, even though it's entertainment, media consumption. It speaks to the fact that the average consumer has changed when compared to 10 years ago. And so, how is the LMS industry responding to this? Actually, the fact that it should be responding is already an issue. It should be anticipating it. Whereas what we're looking at is that it is currently slowly adapting to what we're seeing. And look, I'm part of it. I pled guilty as well. The ed tech industry has not fully caught up yet with the needs of the learner. When we talked about learning management systems, the first things that still come up are about the main functionalities around learning management, scheduling, evaluations, certifications, reporting, and learning content. That's all great, but that's all old. Learners are in need of a different ecosystem. There are different needs, and different requirements that are unsatisfied. Why? Because the modern learner has changed. Actually, it's a modern learner. We talk about millennials a lot. We talk about their need for sharing, but the modern learner, this is data that was collected in a report by Berzin. The modern learner is, for the most part, highly impatient. The attention span on a learning content is estimated to be under 5 minutes. Visual. No more SCORM packages, 68 to 80 slides, 1 hour learning. Who remember those times when we used to buy SCORM content at an hour learning? How many? Yes. Well, it still happens. It's not wrong. It's just not what end users want. So in some instances, we still have to, perhaps, but it's not as productive as it used to be. Modern learning is untethered. That means they need to have a flexible lifestyle. Society has changed as well. They need mobile channels to receive, absorb, learn, and have an understanding of the fact that the organization is able to deliver content to them even though they're not at home. So yeah, this is again data from Meet the Modern Learner. Berzin by Deloitte published it. I think it's pretty interesting. The average worker in a workplace is interrupted every 5 minutes and is able to unlock their phone 9 times every hour. 2/3 of the workers are overwhelmed and complain they have so much to do, they don't even know where to get started. And most learners won't watch videos that are longer than 4 minutes. Millennials surpassed in 2015 the prior generation of workers, and they have different needs. They think differently. And most importantly, one of the things that they need, and we've seen it over and over again, is the need for sharing and not having to embrace prescriptive learning only. How many people in the room currently have a platform, system, or philosophy around sharing in their learning strategy? Can you feel it? The modern learner today is referred as a social learner. We have a number of stories that speak to that and success stories in Docebo that have allowed customers and or Docebo itself at proving how that's very true. But when asked to people like you perhaps, a simple question, what is the challenge that your organization faces every day in order to embed the knowledge sharing? There are very good answers to that, right? Very reasonable. I'm too busy. I don't have time to share. My organization is too big. It's too siloed. I don't want that department to share with another department. It's too political. Well, the third one, the one that the educational technology sector should be able to control, is overwhelming to me. And that's why I've highlighted it in red. It's the adoption of technology. What that means is that most organizations, even though they have the vision and the need to implement some level of knowledge sharing in the organization, their technology is not capable of supporting that. And so that's, yet again, 50% of that 50% indicate that technology is disabling them from doing something that the learner needs. So what are those things that in observation, in looking at all the projects that we've implemented over time, what are those recommendations from a learning technology standpoint that we can provide comfortably and say these things will make your educational technology stack better? We've identified them in 3 areas, and we call them the 3Es. They are experience, efficiency, and effortlessness, which I've tried to say 3 or 4 times today. It's the first time that comes out right. It's a really difficult one. Experience, it's about micro-learning and offline capabilities. Those are 2 very good examples. The need for content in content peels or content bursts that are 0 to 5 minutes, and then a user can consume at their own pace. The ability to consume content not only sitting at a computer, but making the best out of her time on a demand basis. The ability for the content to be efficient, meaning mobile and personalized, and blended, meaning not only synchronous online, but also asynchronous, and the ability to be effortless. As a learner, one of the things that I struggle for the most today is when an interface is hard to read, complicated. I don't get to the point like that. In speaking with our customers, I've learned a lot. We at Docebo have a lot of customers in the IT SaaS industry. We are very fortunate to work with them, and they test us a lot, meaning they make us better. I remember having this conversation, which I will never forget, with a learning leader in an organization, a very young, brilliant, smart woman, whom I interviewed one day, and I said, what is the thing that makes your learners the most frustrated? What can we do better? And she was fairly upset that day. With us because of a specific feature, the way a certain feature worked in our system. And I said, what is it that's making it so complicated for you? And she explained to me, I can't refer the actual company name, but I'll say, she said, our learners are tech geniuses. They are fast. They get distracted a lot. And your system, as it is designed in this use case that we've built, forces me to have them click 2 times before opening the course. And I was like, well, that's pretty good. She's like, no, it's terrible. I'm like, okay. It is terrible. We see a drop rate, the A/B tested drop rate went up to the roof on the 2nd click. So we made it in 1 click. But that's, an anecdotal moment to speaking about modern UI/UX, efficiency, and experience. So it's not all lost. Things can get better. There is not a path to success. The data shows that those organizations that are adopting modern infrastructure and listening to the learners' needs and collecting data, serving what the learners think, are actually having a return on their investment. How? Brandon Hall 2016 report shows that organizations that have incorporated social learning in their strategy have seen, within a reasonable time frame of measurement, an increase in revenue overall. Some of you may argue that that's completely attributable. Fair enough. But they've been able to measure an increase in their team productivity. The team that implemented such knowledge sharing approach that wasn't in place before, as well as an increase in team engagement and sharing. And although it may seem self-referential, I can give you a little bit more data here. There's a company, it's a pretty good one, it's called Docebo. And we ourselves have been the first clients of our entire product. Remember in the first slide I spoke about we're social enabled since 2016. What does that mean? That frankly, up until 2016, we were a hardworking company where people were sharing things via email. Have you ever heard about that? Sounds like it's a common story. Well, now we have evolved, and we've changed that approach a little bit. We've incorporated tools like Slack. Anybody use Slack in this room? Only very few. That fluidifies the communication across teams. It allowed us to create channels where people can now ask questions to one another. But what was missing, speaking of this link in the chain of knowledge, was a place where people could not only share, but also contribute. And so we've created our own academy using our own coaching and sharing solution, and we've branded it Docebo Lyceum. We've been growing fast since 2013, and some tangible results that we've had out of that. There's some teams that are faster growing than others. We've been able to reduce dramatically the way we onboard our own people. It used to be an inconsistent, fairly time-consuming process of multiple people involved in onboarding. Now, by using a coaching and sharing academy, we have people extremely excited. We give them some time to learn about something, and then we ask them to contribute and share with others what their perception or lessons learned from something were. This creates an ecosystem of knowledge that is extremely effective, especially as you grow an organization globally. So, to wrap this up, it's not that modern learning platforms are the ultimate solution to everything. I'm not here to say that those that are not implementing knowledge sharing, that's due to the fact that they don't have the right product. You may have the right product, or may not, but that decision needs to go along with other decisions that organizations need to make, and those are sometimes, in our experience, the most challenging to face, tackle, and implement. And it's about people and processes. People and processes need to go along with technology implementation. So the right technology can help you get there, but the change management that's needed in the organization and the processes surrounding it are something that is out of the control of the technology itself. So what are my key takeaways for the sessions, and I hope this has been useful. The key takeaways today are there's a general dissatisfaction with the learning technology solution. And people expect more. Learners have a need to adopt evolved technologies, and millennials even more. Experience, efficiency, and effortlessness are the keywords for a well-optimized learner experience. And while technology can certainly help, you got to make sure that you consider the people, the processes, and the tools to build a more effective learning program overall. Thank you.